from the vault, high atop the pastoral center of the Diocese of Camden, you're listening to Talking Catholic.
Hey everybody, thank you for joining us for another edition of Talking Catholic. My name is Mike Walsh and I'm here with Marianella Nunez, and we're about to do a special episode about one of my favorite weeks of the year, Catholic Schools Week. And even as a young child in Catholic schools, I couldn't wait for it. And that was before Pajama Day became a thing.
Oh, stop.
You know?
Mike.
We didn't have Pajama Day. That's now, I think, a prerequisite for having your Catholic school spirit week is having one day where you come in your pajamas.
You know, I'm sure our guest today will talk about that.
No
I don't know
idea.
if highly, but, you know.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But no, I really, we love to talk about Catholic schools on this program. And this is a great week where we really get to showcase our schools. In November, the National Catholic Education Association came out with Discover Catholic Schools Week, which is was the first time they tried putting that together, and we did a little bit of work. But Catholic Schools Week at the end of January and beginning of February is always going to be sort of like our opportunity to really highlight it.
Yeah, I mean, my Office of Catholic Schools, South Jersey Catholic Schools, is in celebration mode right now. The diocese is in celebration mode. The country is because of these, Catholic Schools Week. And so with us today, we have our special guest co-host, Mary Beth Peabody from the Office of Catholic Schools. She's the marketing director of the office. And welcome one more time to our show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here as always.
Sure. And Mary Beth has been on the show several times over the past couple of years, and she's always welcome. And I like having the two of you on, actually, because you fill in all the holes in my Catholic schools repertoire, because the two of you working for the Diocese of Camden's Catholic Schools Office, you're really into the nitty-gritty, and you get an opportunity to be out in the schools a lot more frequently than I do, much to my chagrin, actually. I don't get to go out nearly as much as I would like, so I'm a little jealous of the two of you.
I am so grateful for Mary Beth's presence here today. She's been working a lot this week for Catholic School Week, and I think she'll be bringing a lot of insights to the show today.
Yeah. If you really want to see some of the work she does, I encourage everyone to read the Catholic Star Herald this week. She is essentially the guest editor of the Catholic Schools Week edition every year. So the Catholic Star Herald, I think, 20 pages, all on Catholic schools this year?
Yes,
Yeah.
and in all fairness, a lot of that is ads, but they're great ads and give a lot of information about our schools with the open houses and that kind of thing. So we do have a lot of nice editorial, and also I think just every one of our schools in one way or another is represented.
Yeah, I started reading some of the supplement, and I have to say, you have to look it up. Mary Beth has written great articles, and I think, one of them in particular made me cry today. So if you want to find which one it was, you need to check the supplement out.
It's true, because I don't want to give away why people will cry, because I had the same reaction to it. But it's a good cry, and it's an important cry, but there's also a lot of joy in there as well as to why people send their kids to Catholic schools, the power that really comes from what you learn in a Catholic school. We, in the Diocese of Camden, have tagged our Catholic schools the gift of a lifetime. Mary Beth, I know we've used that phrase a lot in the last couple of years, and it's important to us, but I still think it rings true when people hear it for the first time. Can you explain why it's referred to as the gift of a lifetime?
Sure. When we first brought this out, the gift of a lifetime, people thought, well, what does that really mean? How is it a lifetime? And we think of it as not just a gift for your child, but as a gift to the communities where your child will serve others, both while they're in school and while they're an adult. Once you have that Catholic education, you take it with you, so it lasts you a lifetime, but you're also bringing it to the parishes, communities, relationships. Everything you gain in a Catholic school really stays with you and benefits others as well.
Right.
That's impressive.
So,
I still love that tagline. It's one of my favorites.
Mike, and I think because we have so many guests today,
yes, and
we have to start the introduction.
Yeah, one of them has to leave very shortly, so let's go around the table starting on my left.
Sure. And so we have here, you introduce yourself.
Helen Persing from John Paul II in Stratford.
Steve Hogan, principal of St. Mary's School, Vineland.
Alice Malloy, principal of Our Lady of Mount Carmel School in Berlin.
Joan Dollinger, principal of Assumption Regional Catholic School in Galloway. Molly Webb, principal of Resurection Catholic School in Cherry Hill.
Phil Gianfortune, principal of St. Michael, the Archangel Regional School in Clayton.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much.
And I will tell you, our guests have been waiting around for me. I was stuck with Bishop Sullivan for a while.
Bishop, what happened?
But that's. But thank you all for waiting. So if we sound a little harried in the beginning, that's the reason why. It was waiting for me. But thanks for staying. So I guess what I'd really like to know from each of you, but maybe starting with Steve, is what got you into Catholic schools, and why is Catholic Schools Week really kind of important to your school?
To answer the question, what got me into Catholic schools, well, I'm a product of 18 years of Catholic education. So,
Good product.
Catholic schools, yeah. Catholic schools have, outside of my parents, have been probably the largest formation tool in my life. And so I'm a strong believer in Catholic schools because even professionally, I've given my educational career to the church in the ministry of Catholic education. And I'm very proud of that. And, one thing is I always tell other principals, I have principals in the public school sector who are friends. I'm probably, when we get together and chat, I'm probably the only one that says I love getting up every morning and going to work. Because I work in a faith-filled environment, have wonderful relationships with my parents and the students. It's something I cherish, and I know the families cherish. And I was sort of thinking, again, Mary Beth happened to mention the theme, gift of a lifetime. Many times when I'm speaking to prospective parents about Catholic education, I always use the phrase, the gift that keeps giving, because sometimes parents today with the economy really grapple with the sacrifice, especially financially, in providing the Catholic education. And I always remind them that this financial commitment they make, again, is the gift that keeps giving. The vacations, technology gifts, all those material things kids forget. Catholic education puts an indelible imprint on your child for life. And I know from speaking from my own experience and the sacrifices my parents made in looking at my siblings and my family, Catholic education is probably one of the hallmark imprints of our family's life and the people who we are today. So Mike, in regard to Catholic Schools Week coming up, a lot of activities, Monday through Friday. Kids are excited.
Do you have any special guests?
I do have a special guest.
Who is that?
Bishop Sullivan.
Woo.
Yeah, Bishop Sullivan, Father Rocks, and Dr. Watson will be present at St. Mary's in Vineland on Monday. On Monday, we celebrate diversity of our student body, but even more broadly, we're really celebrating diversity in our church. And so part of that celebration is an ethnic lunch. So I have a feeling Bishop chose St. Mary's because I think he likes to eat.
That is
so
true.
I think he's going to enjoy the time. And so we have roughly around 7 different countries represented that day. Classes choose a country. And sometimes that's based upon, could be students' own backgrounds in the past through the years. We've had, Germany, the Philippines, Vietnam, there are a variety of different nationalities.
The food is amazing.
Yeah, and I know, Marianella, you were there a couple of years ago, so you did experience that firsthand. So again, a lot of activities going on the week celebrating different aspects of our school. And yeah, so we're really looking forward to it.
That's awesome. How about you, Helen? What got you into Catholic school education, and why did you stay?
Well, first of all, I grew up in the Archdiocese of Philadelphia, and I went all through Catholic school, Catholic high school. My father was a Catholic school teacher, taught for probably close to 40 years. So I know nothing other than Catholic education, but I do enjoy it. Like Steve, I get out of bed every day. I'm very excited to go into school. I know that our students make a difference. When interviewing candidates for teaching positions, I can tell someone who went to a Catholic school just by their demeanor, the way they speak. I think that we spend a lot of time really developing the whole child. I know my dad would be thrilled. He passed away many years ago, but he was a huge supporter, believed in it. Didn't think there were any other kind of schools in this country but Catholic schools. So, that's
like
something.
That. Good.
Yes.
I want people to think that.
We all like that.
Yes.
So that's what got me here. Catholic Schools Week at John Paul II is very exciting. We have a number of activities. Every day there's something planned. Like Steve, he has a lunch on Monday. We do a lunch too, but our lunch is special person's lunch. And the child gets to ask somebody special in their life to come in, and they spend a half hour and have lunch. Now the idea is the child's supposed to pack the lunch for the special person, but I've seen special persons come in with a whole bunch of food, but they have fun, so they get to spend a half hour. And then there's many other activities during the week. I know on Wednesday we celebrate our nation, and as from kindergarten all the way through 8th grade, we have students either writing to the local politicians or the senators and representatives about what makes a Catholic education so great. I'm also excited because my 8th grade STEM class is going to be up in Trenton. They did a project with the whole group regarding helping food banks because of the awareness of food banks that, at Christmas and at Thanksgiving, but they need food all year long. So they did this wonderful project. So I wish I could go, but I have to be at the school, but they'll be up there representing us, and I'm very proud of them. And like all the other schools, there's many different activities, but the best thing about it is that sense of family. Even if there were issues in the school prior week, the children all come together. And, many of the little kids will say, can we do this again tomorrow? And, that's the thing that is really exciting. But, those are things that have been planned, and, like all the other schools, we are just so grateful that, I say to the children all the time that your parents have given you a gift. You should be thanking them. They work very hard. They sacrifice. And, as we see them leave our school and go on and go out into college, it's just a great thing because we know we were part of preparing them and getting to see, where they are in life. And they come back. A lot of our alumni come back and visit, and it's funny because that's one thing they remember. Remember when we did this at Catholic Schools Week? Are you still doing that? Mm-hmm. So they do enjoy that. So that's how I got here, and I know for me there isn't any other place I would rather be than in a Catholic school.
I'd love to hear that. Hey, because you've only been in the Catholic schools for a short while, right?
Yeah, well, I taught in Trenton Diocese for 10 years, and then I came into Camden in 2006. So,
so what, just about 25 years?
Yeah.
In Catholic education.
There you go. I like to hear that. So
we do know, like, Helen loves her school. Like, she gets there very early, leaves very late, and she lives like an hour away.
It's about 40 minutes. It's not that far.
Yeah.
But sometimes for me, because that's my work ethic, I like to come in early and get things done because I know once the children come in, all kinds of things happen. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, that's when I get my work done. And I'm sure all of you do the same thing. It's when you can close your door and nobody's bothering you. You can take care of some things that you can't normally get to. But that's my work ethic. And, actually, I've instilled that in my own children, and it's nice to see because they're the same way.
I'm the product of two educators as well. My mother was the director of guidance and assistant principal at Gloucester Catholic High School, and then my father worked in the public school system, and it was always the same thing. When I went to Gloucester Catholic with my mom, we'd routinely leave around 7 o'clock at night. I had a great disdain for that, but now my mom, who's now retired, kind of laughs at me a little bit as I'm rolling in the door around 7 o'clock, and she goes, now you understand, don't you? And I go, yes, I do, Mom. You're absolutely right.
That's right. You stay until the job's done.
Stay until the job's done, that's right.
So we keep the question open,
so
right?
We're going to go around a little bit but since this is the principal at my son's school, and everyone just calls him Mr. G, I'm just going to go with that. Mr. G, how you doing, Mr. G?
How you doing?
You had to hide that until the end.
I'm very transparent about my connections. But now you're unique in the sense that you're a first-year principal at St. Michael's, but you worked at headmaster at Bishop Eustace High School in Cherry Hill for quite a while.
Yeah, I was there for I was 14 years. I was 10 years as a music teacher, and then 4 years as first as academic dean and then became the headmaster the last 2 years. But the reason why I really got into Catholic education was my father was the music teacher at Camden Catholic High School. He was also he was the first Mr. G, I guess. I was, originally, when I was a kid, I was G minor. If anyone gets the music joke.
I like it.
That's cute.
I like it.
It's cute.
And then they got really funny with my brother and sisters, like diminished and whatever. I mean, and then double diminished. They you know, there are music theory jokes out there, but really, like, I was part of Catholic education growing up. I went to Camden Catholic High School, so I got to graduate from the diocese in a sense. And it was where my faith and my love of education can all be together as one. And I've just been in love with it ever since. One, the community that you get to work with every day. I mean, the students are fantastic, but it's someplace that you can actually talk to the adults about all this, you know, how you feel and what you openly talk about that stuff and what you value, and it all comes together. So I think it's fantastic, and it's the best thing for us.
You know, it's funny, just listening to you talk got me to thinking that we on this podcast and in my work in the diocese in general, you know, we talk about being pastoral and accompanying people and things like that. And I think there's a greater opportunity to do that in a Catholic school, because we really get to get in touch with people's spirituality. We really get to, and you really get an opportunity. And I've seen this happen certainly with other families and my own family at St. Michael's, where, you know, a family in distress, you know, knows that they're part of a community. And for instance, going back to the article that will make you cry in the Catholic Star Herald, you know, when tragedy happens, it's not just that it's a classmate, it's something that's happened to your family. Something's happened to a member of your community. It's a very tight-knit community. Yes. And you know, we've been fortunate at St. Michael's that we haven't had a truly tragic event happen in quite some time. But there are difficulties, and your role as a principal and the role of the teacher is really being there as that sort of first line of helping a troubled family, not just a troubled student, but a troubled family.
Yes,
is important. Right.
Yeah, I have a question for Phil. I'm not sure how much Catholic Schools Week was celebrated at Bishop Eustace, but you're coming into your first Catholic Schools Week as a principal of an elementary school. And I would love to have a before and after conversation, because now you have only expectations. But what are you anticipating?
Well, I mean, honestly, like in the high school level, we didn't quite celebrate it as much. It's what it sounds like similar is a little bit like Spirit Week would be in high school. Because I even remember at Camden Catholic, I don't think we did as much I graduated in 2000. But we didn't really do as much of that then. I know they do more now, especially with service, and that's the big key, I think, really celebrating really the faith and the gratitude that we want to show others. But at the same time, like from listening to all the planning that's involved with everything that we're going to be doing, because just like the other principals are going to tell you, a lot of activities the whole week, because we have the grandparents coming in on Monday, and parents, they're going to visit the classes, they get to have lunch with the kids. I mean, that's going to be fantastic. And we have a book fair going on at the same time. But we had so many things that we kind of even started this week. The book fair started now. Tomorrow's our multicultural dinner, and then followed by an alumni game, followed by Mass on Sunday, and it just goes all the way into next Friday. It's you know, really, really cool. And the one thing that I was really interested to see is, and the students are really, really, I was talking to a parent the other day about the Wax Museum. So we do on Wednesday.
I love wax museums. Yeah. I think they're the best.
And then the presentation of the kids, the preparation that they go into is
Gonna
really
have Jack
great.
do it.
Oh, he will be doing it soon.
So one of the mothers was saying their child is literally going to dress as Al Capone. They're historical figures, and he's very, very excited about it. And he just came to us like the other year. Yeah. But he's completely like been invested in what we do. So it's great. And come to think, you know, I think on Monday of Spirit Week, you're also doing the
the 8th grade spelling bee, and there's going to be a special host of that. Oh, it's me. That's right. I'm very excited
You
about
have
that.
to say it, Mike.
Yeah. Because I've been doing it for like 4 or 5 years now, and I get a kick out of it. Because it's the only time where I know the spelling of all the words. I feel very smart at the end of it. But Molly, let's hear from you a little bit.
Well, I went to all Catholic school as well, Archdiocese of Philadelphia, including college, so high school and college. I have a little bit of a different story in that I'm one of those struggling families. You know, my mom raised 4 children on her own. So I can truly say that it was my particular grade school and faith that gave me the hope that life could get better. And it was all the families that supported us. It was them who looked out when my mom was at work and, made sure that we had dinner or made sure we had a ride to, X, Y, and Z, whatever place we needed to go to. And it was that larger family and that knowledge that there were good, faithful people in the world. We actually would walk to church on our own because my mom had to work on Sundays. And, to sit with other families that we knew were just an extension of our own. So that piece of it is what really made me want to stay in Catholic education. And I see being a principal as being such a privilege. I always loved being a teacher. I'm not going to lie, I do miss that classroom. The children's spirit give you... you get so much back. I was just saying that to the students the other day because I was filling in for our science teacher who was sick, and I was doing a lesson, and I was saying to them that they have always brought joy to my life whenever there was something going on that was a little hard. And you don't even know you're being God to one another, but they are. And so that was part of a larger lesson that had to do with Martin Luther King. But it truly is, we're a little different, and I think it is because we can talk so freely about our faith. It makes us closer because we have these deep conversations that really help guide all of us. We learn from one another. Catholic Schools Week, we have a lot going on like everybody else.
What are you looking forward to seeing that?
So my favorite part of Catholic Schools Week is our Broadway Kids production. I find that
Fancy.
We have grades 3 through 5. They are doing Little Mermaid this year. Their costumes are insane, and it was a parent who put them all together, a group of parents who just work together. And I looked at them the other day, and every year I am blown away. But it's also, again, it's an opportunity for parents to come together and get to know one another. But I just love it because I'm amazed every year at what our young kids can do and the joy that they give to everybody else. Like even the middle school kids are, they're there and they're watching and they're coming to see it at night. And it just brings us all together. And so that probably is my very favorite part.
Oh, I love that. That's
Great.
awesome.
So we have Joan Dollinger from Assumption School, who's next on that question.
So for me, I am a product of Catholic education. I attended Our Lady Star of the Sea in Cape May, New Jersey, and 2 of my grandparents attended Star of the Sea. My parents attended Star of the Sea. My siblings, my cousins, my children. So there was a deep connection with the parish. I ended up being a teacher there, and I eventually ended up being the principal there as well. So, and for me, the funniest part of that was when I became the principal, I had access to the cumulative records, and I looked at my parents. And that was just so cool to be able to, see
Their permanent record.
Right, their permanent
Wow.
record that they had, and
pretty cool.
And I know that it just made my father so proud that I ended up being there in a school that was such a part of our own family history. I did not think that I would be a Catholic school educator initially, because after college I studied theology and was a campus minister at Montclair State University. And because I was working in the church, I needed 2 jobs. And I taught theology part-time at a Catholic high school in Montclair. And it was during that time that I had, my husband and I had our first baby. And I went back to work when Matthew was 6 weeks old, which nobody should have to do. And I had a friend who was babysitting for Matthew, and her son became very sick and wasn't able to watch him for 2 weeks. So I went into my principal, Sister Pat, and I said to her, Pat, I don't know what to do. I said, I don't have a babysitter. I don't have family in this area. I said, I'm going to have to take these next couple weeks off. And she said, well, I could do one of 2 things. She said, I could bring the sub back and you can, go home and be with Matthew. She said, or you could bring the bassinet to my office and bring him to school. Oh. So that is what I did. For 3 weeks, I brought him with me, and she graciously watched this infant for me. And that is what made the difference for me. I said, that compassion, love, concern, just said to me, as much as I loved campus ministry, I thought, what, this is where I need to be. This is my calling. And so then I've spent many years in Catholic education as a teacher, and this is the 3rd school where I'm serving as principal. And it's just, it is a gift. I tell people that I go to school every day. I don't even say I go to work,
We didn't want to let you go, me, 3rd time, you were almost retired, and we're like, come back.
And, and interestingly, I took 8 years off to work as the administrator of St. Mary by the Sea Retreat House in Cape May Point, and I thought my principal days were over. And I got a call to ask me to consider applying to Assumption. And I was like, no, I work at the beach. Why would I want to drive, an hour to go to Assumption? But I prayed about it, and in the discernment, God said, be open. And, that's what God always says.
You had to listen.
So, so I did that. And the principal that I was replacing was sick, and it was after a week of being there that she died. And then it became clear to me that I think God needed my special gifts of spirituality to be able to help that community to heal during that very difficult time. So, but I love Catholic schools. I love Catholic education. I love Catholic Schools Week.
What do you love the most about Catholic Schools Week?
I love the energy of it. I love the sense of family. Our families are invited to many of our activities. I love the energy of the children. I mean, even this week, they're so excited about it.
And the anticipation.
I love that it brings us all together. We have many activities, like all of us, family days. We've had a group of our students who entered an environmental science project that they are going to be presenting during Catholic Schools Week. Dr. Watson is coming. They're going to make the presentation to him. Our family day, our Knights of Columbus spelling bee, the talent show, which is just amazing. So just so many, and then we have a school-wide service project that we started last year where all of the children are helping to make sleeping mats for persons who are homeless, and we create them from plastic bags, and each child during the week will have the opportunity to weave part of the mat, and then we present them to Cape Hope, which is an organization in Cape May County that serves persons who are homeless. So I think it's a wonderful way to remind the students that the gift of Catholic education for them is also the gift of service.
And if you want to learn more about that project and what that is about, Joan Dollinger wrote an article about it in the Star Herald. So,
You took that.
I
Mary
took
Beth
that
was
from
going to talk
you.
all about
Mary
it.
Beth, come on.
You describe it, Mary Beth.
Well, I do want to thank you, Joan, because every time somebody else offers to write an article, that's one to check off the list, and it really is a beautiful article and a wonderful story of kids, community, your art teacher, Maddie, who made that loom. It's great, so thank you. And I'll say Marianella also has a wonderful article in this week that is both written in English and Spanish. So thank you, Marianella.
So, and I will
Thank
just,
you, Mary Beth, for all the support.
My husband retired last year, right around this time last year, and so somebody said to him, so Joni's still working. He said, yeah, she's my retirement. So if anybody working at Catholic schools know that, you can support your family,
Good point.
That's great. And so we have one more principal in our list, right, on our table. Last but not least, Alice
Right.
Malloy from Our Lady of Mount Carmel in Berlin.
Right. Like everyone at the table, I'm also the product of Catholic education. I am the proud product of the Camden Diocese. I am blessed to be principal at the grade school that I attended. I went to Paul VI High School and then followed that up with some time at University of Notre Dame and then Temple. I'm a music teacher originally and started my teaching career in public and Catholic schools as a band director, an itinerant band director at several different schools. And when we adopted our first child, made the decision to just stay in the Catholic school. I stayed at Mount Carmel and worked part-time, and there were many days that I brought my son with me in the bassinet, and he sat on the stage and listened to all the music lessons. And
He must like music now.
he is a music major at Camden's campus of Rutgers University. I'm very
Awesome.
proud of that.
Ooh.
Both of my children are proud graduates.
So you start them early, people.
Yes, absolutely. I'm blessed to be in the position I'm in. I feel a connection to Catholic education because it is a family. I'm still a parishioner at Mount Carmel. I go to church on Sunday or during the week with the kids from the school and bump into the families with whom I went to school with their children or the senior citizens that have watched my children grow up. It's really fun to have that perspective, and I love coming into school. For me, it's a short commute. It's a 10-minute commute every day. I know all the best hiding places in the school because it's the school I went to, and I remind the kids of all of those fun things that we used to do, and they love to hear the stories. They love to see when people know me by first name. And
So you were a student there?
I attended Our Lady of Mount Carmel, yes. It was one of my first teaching positions, and when the opportunity to become the principal presented itself, I felt that it really was a calling.
How does it feel to be in the school where you were once a student?
In a lot of respects, and many days it feels like I've never left. The same cot is in the nurse's office that was there from my student days, and some days it looks really enticing. It's a blessing. I feel very fortunate to have the connection with not only the community, but with the building, and we have many teachers who have been with us for a long time. Some of our teachers who have retired come back and keep in touch, so it is really a wonderful thing. And it is the gift of a lifetime, and I can't think of doing anything else.
Alice, you were...
No, I was just going to ask, what are your favorite parts of Catholic Schools Week?
Exactly.
We, like all the principals here, have a crazy week. I'm most looking forward to our day of service. We've designated Wednesday of next week as our day of service, and we've paired up our older students with their younger buddies, and they will be making cards for veterans and for the volunteers in the school and in the parish that we are used to seeing every day. And we're also going to be putting together bags for Ronald McDonald House that have toiletries and games and crayons. We've been collecting donations all week, and we'll be pairing the kids up to make cards to go to the residents and the parents that are at the Ronald McDonald House, and then we'll be filling the bags. We have an ongoing collection of the can tabs that the Ronald McDonald House takes, so we'll get that all together on Wednesday, and the other part of the day will be cleaning up the school property, weather permitting. We have a prayer garden that was started several years ago when the DRE in the parish passed away. The pastor at the time gave us a little corner of the yard next to the rectory, and that has become our prayer garden. And we have added plants and trees every year as we've lost members of our community. So we'll be going in there and cleaning up. It's a little too early to plant anything, but we can clean up some of the trash and the weeds that have accumulated.
That's great.
And then we're going to treat the kids at the end of the day to a movie in the gym and maybe some popcorn to treat them for their hard work. That's what I'm looking forward to. It's
awesome.
a new activity for us to plan an entire day of service. And we have the talent show and the book fair, and we have our jump rope and Hoops for Heart that benefits the American Heart Association. So
I have to say, I have those service projects sometimes, like, when kids are doing them, they're like, they don't think that they make a difference. But, I had an experience where I had my child at CHOP once. And one of the things that really touched me, I went to the Ronald McDonald's house for coffee. They had cookies and things for the families. And so they had hats made from kids from a school. But the thing that touched my heart the most was not the hat itself, but the little note. And so those things really make a difference when you're in a hard situation, just thinking, oh wow, this person, spent time to think about us and sort of make a connection and make you feel special. So it's not actually the material thing, but it's, the human touch that makes a difference. So, just let your students know that they do make a difference with those little details and service projects that they do.
Yeah, I would agree. Every time let me start again. I find that when I was young, we had very few service projects. It was all very education focused, but we didn't have a lot of service projects in the 80s, basically. And I'm so excited every time I see Jack come home. Jack's in 6th grade, my son. And he'll have service projects to work on. And he joined the Columbian Squires, which is an offshoot of the Knights of Columbus. And they're very focused on those things. And he's a part of other things. But what's important about it is he gets excited for it. Not only is he getting excited for it, he understands the necessity of doing the service projects, not from the purpose of getting them done and getting credit, but for the purpose of actually experiencing them. And oftentimes in our service projects, having the ability to walk with someone, to meet with someone, whether it's a senior citizens or, in my case, by the time the 90s rolled around and I was in college, we were working with people with special needs at St. Joe's University. And that was one of the most powerful experiences of my life was being with special needs adults and really learning how to accompany someone with whom at that time I didn't have really a conceptual way of understanding their situation. But once I was working with them closely, I had a much better understanding of it. And since that time for me, which was far later in life that Jack's doing it, and Jack's 11, I was 20 probably when I was doing that. I really think it creates an impact, because I know how it impacted me as an adult, let alone as a child. So going back to those things that we can do and have a conversation about from a very emotional level and feel very free to do it and have that deep connection with someone as part of a service project, but also from an educator to the child, where we can really tell them why this is. We can talk about our innate spirituality, that there's, okay, so in I don't like to, as a general rule, I don't like to compare and contrast public schools and private schools, but in this case I will. We have the ability of saying, there are role models around us, and we can say you should emulate Martin Luther King Jr. But in our case, we can also tell them, this has been built in innately into your soul. You are literally created by God to serve your fellow man. That's something they won't hear. Using a scientific terminology, it's in our DNA. That this is something we were created to do. And I think that's a powerful message to tell people. Maybe this isn't things that you think about.
Helen maybe could give us an insight on that. Like she mentioned at the beginning of the interview that, you can sort of sense when somebody that you have in your office looking for a job went to a Catholic school or not. Like, how do you feel we as a Catholic school system change students' life and impact their lives in a way that makes them more better citizens, or it makes them more spiritual people, and also people that care about others a little bit more consciously?
I think the most important thing that we do is our faith. We get to live that every day, but we also have that ability to talk with the child if they do something, and help them work through it and explain why they shouldn't do it, so that they know in the future, they know how to self-discipline themselves, and they know the difference between right and wrong. And I find that the students are very caring. And again, not to knock other schools, but I have subbed in other schools, and I've seen the difference. And I find that our children are very protective of each other. Some days they might not all get along, but they do watch out for each other. I think that's part of what we teach and helps them become better, productive citizens. They may not be at the top of their class in college, but they're going to go out and they're going to make a difference because they've been exposed to quite a bit in the Catholic school, having to do with service, having to do with just relationships, having to do with teaching them discipline as far as studies and routines. I think all those things are very valuable skills that sometimes you don't find in other schools, and I think that's very important. That's what I see with my own children because they went through Catholic school. And you know, they'll tell me that their friends struggle because they weren't taught this in their school, and we have the ability to do it. But the most important thing to me is I always hear, oh, that child's bad. I don't think there's any bad children. I think children make the wrong choice, and we have the ability in our schools to talk with them about their faith and teach them the right decisions to make. And I think looking at it that way, I think you see children know, they get the idea and they know when. And they'll tell me when they do something. They'll say, well, I know that was the wrong choice, Mrs. Persing. But I've always believed that there's, you know, you'll hear a teacher say, oh, that child's so bad. And no, they're not bad. They need someone in their life, and that's where we come in so that we can help them make the right choices.
Joan, you had a comment?
Yeah, I think for me, it's such a privilege to be able to pray with children, especially when they're struggling, so that if I have to bring them together, and I say, you know, before we talk it out, I say, let's just take a few moments and ask God to be with us in part of this conversation, you know, so that is just an integral part of who we are. God is a part of every single element of the school, whether it's relationships, the academics, who they are with each other, how they are with each other, and the ability to pray with them. I think it helps them to recognize in a real way that God is very much a part of this, and God can help them through the struggle and can help to take them to the next place. I don't know what I would do without that, you know, because and it's probably just so part of who I am, and our teachers are able to bring God into every aspect of science, social studies, math, you know, so it's just it's all connected, and it's such a privilege to be able to be a part of that.
You have a comment, Molly?
It's really just a quick one. Last week, our students were playing in a basketball game, and there at the very end, the other team put in a child that they clearly identified right away as being someone of special needs. And without being told, they played light defense and really went out of their way to let that child score. And the child scored 2 baskets. But, you know, it was assumed that the coach told them, and the coach hadn't, you know. And I think that really says who we are in a nutshell. Yeah. You know, it's in the practice, it's in their being, just to do, they see it, they're aware of it, and they, on their own, collectively as a team, without even talking to one another.
And this is sort of like, these are some of the things that we are really proud about as, you know, Catholic schools. This is what we want to celebrate during Catholic Schools Week. And I would like to invite Mary Beth Peabody as the communications and marketing manager of our office to explain to a parent who is not already in our system what is Catholic Schools Week and why we're doing it. Mike mentioned something at the beginning, but I would like you to say a few words and also invite them to read and go on social media this week to see what we're about and what we're doing.
Okay, so Catholic Schools Week has been around for years. If I grab my newspaper, it's 20-some years, I believe, Catholic Schools Week, and it is a national celebration. So the National Catholic Educational Association, NCEA, puts together sort of suggestions and guidelines, but whatever we're doing here in the Diocese of Camden is happening all across the country in dioceses and archdioceses throughout the country. So that makes it a really unified. Our office is sort of the unifier for the Camden Diocese, and then NCEA just has it for the whole country. So there are themes for every day, celebrating our church, celebrating our families, celebrating teachers, just different themes for the day that are loose guidelines for ways that people can create their own activities. And it's really intended to, I think it's really twofold. One is just for school communities to be able to celebrate among themselves and to invite their parishes to be part of that celebration. And then the other is for people who aren't in Catholic schools to say, I wonder what's going on there, and take a look. Many of our schools will have open houses this week. And the reality is our schools are open all the time, so an open house is a great opportunity to come and visit. There is not a school that wouldn't be thrilled to get a phone call of someone saying, hey, I want to come take a tour. So that's important to know that open house is one way to come and see a school. At the end of the week, we will have many great stories and many tired educators. Many people who will be ready to move on to non-Catholic schools week, but it really is just a fun and wonderful celebration. Our office likes it particularly because our work gets done ahead of time. I guess I speak selfishly because the Catholic Schools Week issue of the Star Herald is something that has to be done ahead of time. So now I feel really free to be able to check out what's going on in the schools. Everyone from our office has about 5 schools that we're responsible for kind of keeping an eye on and going to visit at some point during Catholic Schools Week, and so that everybody is accounted for.
Great.
Yeah.
Do you have any other questions?
No, but what about you?
Well, I am looking forward to next week and sort of like visiting a few schools. I still haven't announced it, so I'll.
Are you keeping it a secret as to where you're going to show up?
Tomorrow, I'm telling them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so wait for my email.
Well, I didn't tell Steve that I will be at the one where the bishop. So.
Well, this time we made it a little different in our office. Like it was picked a little like randomly, so we didn't pick by what we wanted to go, but I definitely am looking forward to the schools that are in my list, and especially because I now have a daughter who is attending Catholic school. So you got to talk about Jag. Now I get to
I know, I'm excited.
about
I love
my
talking
daughter
about it.
Mariana and my principal Diana Rodriguez, who's doing a great job at St. Anthony of Padua, and I'm looking forward to being there on Monday. That one I'm telling, and they have a special lunch for a special person, and so I am going with my daughter Mariana, who specifically asked me if I could please go. So
nice.
I'm really looking forward to it. It's definitely great to be a parent and to work in the Office of Catholic Schools. Like, I get to see different angles of the system, and I feel so blessed of Mariana being able to get a Catholic education. The way she talks about God, like the other day, have a story, because there's always a story. They were celebrating Mass, and so they were talking about baby Jesus and his family. And so the priest was like, this is our pastor. He was doing the homily, and he asked questions about the Holy Family, and he said, so who's baby Jesus' mother? And, it's in the middle of the whole school Mass, and she raises her hands, just like, Maria, and who's the father? And she's like, Jose, and they're like looking at this 5-year-old little girl, like responding to the questions like without hesitance. And I guess the pastor was like feeling really grateful, and the principal that the Catholic education you can see in the students, like it's not something that when they go somewhere, like I feel like you can touch it sometimes, and their faith growing since they're little. It's something invaluable. That's how I see it, because that's how I grew up, and I think if I hadn't had sort of like the Catholic foundation before, my faith wouldn't be as strong as it is now. So I am totally grateful.
You know, that actually begs a good point, because I feel very similarly. We have about 5 minutes of the podcast left to go, and I just, the role of the parents in this. I as someone whose father worked in public schools for a long time, I often heard stories of not so great parenting, and where school was almost relegated to being babysitting. That the parents kind of dropped the kids off, they went on the bus, and they walked to school, and the parents were hands off. I feel like in Catholic schools, not so much that it's a requirement, but there's an incentive for parents to be very involved. Would you find that that's been the case? Have you found that your parents, you get a hearty quality of parent at your school? Remember, we're on a podcast, you can't nod. You use the microphones. So, Phil, I'm talking to you.
Yes. Well, also being a parent, my son Joe he actually attends Resurection, and it was really cool.
Is his principal
I didn't know that.
Is his principal okay?
Of course, she's sitting right next to me.
Because I'm sure holding judgment on my son's principal.
Wow.
No, he's very lucky. He talks about Miss Webb coming in to see the class, and he's always telling me. So I'm like, great, that's great. You want that.
Yep.
But on one of the Saturdays before he had soccer, because he did soccer at Resurection, we did a little service project, and it was really cool because we went as a whole family, and we're there, and he's putting everything together, and he got his little brother Alex to come over, and he helped as well, and we're just literally all doing it together, and it's such a young age, and I'm this is perfect. He's learning the importance of giving for others, and he kept wanting to do it. He was only supposed to do I think a few, but he didn't want to go away. He's I was like, you got to go play soccer now. You're doing a good job. And then, but it's just it's wonderful to see that, and that's why it's kind of why we do it.
Yeah, hearing all of you talk and telling the stories that you've been telling, and certainly Marinelle's story and my story and Mary Beth, the thing I keep coming back to is that with Catholic schools you get another level. It's not just, and we've said this in a variety of different ways since Catholic schools have been around. It's more than writing, reading, and arithmetic. But it's an important level that when you consider the fact that, and this is something Mary Beth writes about with frequency, the importance of what we're providing these students who we expect them to be leaders in their communities when they graduate and when they move on to college and when they move into their public life. I know a guy in my Gloucester Catholic graduating class. He's now a freeholder, and I'm very hopeful that what he learned as a young person at Gloucester Catholic has brought him. He takes with him in his role as a politician, as someone who's trying to say what we can do in this county to better our lives. And he also happens to be a superintendent of schools at a district in South Jersey, and I'd like to believe that Gloucester Catholic has had an influence on him, and he brings some of that, even in a public school setting, that pastoral nature that we were all taught in high school. So I am very excited about it. And when our son was born, it wasn't even a consideration as to where would he be going. He has the benefit of being able to go to my alma mater, which at the time was called St. Catherine's, and I loved. And for me, you were talking about walking the hallways, years later. I still go in there and go, yeah, this place is okay. I like it, and I immediately feel at home. And it's got a new paint job, and there's a section of the modules that was put on years later. I don't know how they had all the kids in there with less rooms when I was growing up, but somehow we were all stuffed in there, and it was wonderful. I wouldn't change a thing. I honestly often wonder why parents don't send their kids to Catholic schools, just because there's so much more to it that you get. And I realize it comes with a cost, but there's so much more.
It's an investment, and we would like to make it free, but we have to pay our bills, we have to pay our teachers, and parents have to realize too that what we charge is not even the cost for education. It costs us more, and there's money to be raised, and a lot of things that we do to keep it low, and we try very hard every year to keep it the lowest possible so that you can afford it. And so it's a sacrifice not only from the parents' part, but also the teachers that work in our Catholic schools and our principals that do not make close to what other people make in other systems.
I I think you were close to wrapping up. Is that true?
Yeah.
1 minute.
minute.
All right. I have to give 2 plugs here. First is to this wonderful group of principals. The reason that we were all together is that we were having a meeting to talk about an arts festival that we'll be holding in May that involves any of our schools that want to participate, which last year we had just a tremendous participation. It's a wonderful day for students to celebrate the arts. And this great group of 6 principals are all on the planning committee, giving their time for that. And we are meeting at the Church of the Incarnation.
in
Thank you.
Mantua, yeah.
The Church of the Incarnation. We're here in Mantua, and that's where our arts festival is going to be held. So we are grateful to them for letting us use the facility today in May, and to let us stay late and have this podcast.
That's awesome.
So, thank you.
And thank you to our principals for joining us. And Marianelle, thank you very much for setting this all up. And thank you everybody for waiting for me. The bishop sends his apologies, but hey, the boss calls, the boss calls.
We were thrilled with this group of principals. It is really hard to get so many principals on one table on the same day. We are really happy.
We're very fortunate.
I almost threw my Spanish in there.
That would have been okay, too.
Thank you so much to Mary Beth, too, for helping, setting this up.
Thank you very much.
And we also know that we could have done this with any 6 of our principals because we have a really terrific crowd.
That's true.
This
Not
is
a bad
just
one
a
in the bunch.
representation of who they are.
Right. And how many schools do we have in the diocese, Mary Beth?
We have 28 elementary schools, 6 diocesan high schools, and 3 private high schools.
There you go. We probably should have led with that maybe, but next time. All right.
Look it up. We are on South Jersey Catholic Schools, the Diocese of Camden page. Mike, you have...
SouthJerseyCatholicSchools.org. And what? Oh, Talking
Talking Catholic.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So that's right. Now we're now part of a media empire.
Exactly.
So we have talking.catholicstarherald.com. And people can go there to see all of our podcasts, all of our YouTube shows, your YouTube Spanish language YouTube
Compartiendo
shows.
tu don, yes. Okay.
Yeah, good times. All right. Thank you, Marianelle. Thank you, listeners.
Thank you so much.